Hello everybody. This is going to be something slightly different. This is an unscripted video, but still the format is the same. We're going to be looking at all of Peter's costumes in Spider-Man 2 in this video. You know the drill already. If you like this sort of thing, subscribe, hit the bell. You know already. You know, I don't have to tell you that. Most of this video was recorded prior to the New Game Plus update, so most of my commentary will reflect that. At times I will chime in from the future to correct my past self when something has been affected by the update. I'm keeping the older, outdated parts in because I think it's important to highlight those issues that existed for months and not pretend as though they were never there. So let's just go ahead and start with suit number 1, which is the Advanced Suit 2.0. Right off the bat, this is a really good design. I really like this costume. It's kind of hard to talk about this one without talking about the first Advanced Suit because it's the Advanced Suit 2, it's the sequel. You have to talk about the first one. And so in relation to the first suit, this one is better in almost every single way. I think the clearest and most obvious improvement is the color scheme. The color scheme of the original Advanced Suit was dog water, and it's even worse in this game actually, because the original Advanced Suit was very, very orange. I got gaslighted a ton by people who told me that it totally wasn't orange, but now I think with the existence of this suit, people are starting to wake up. It also helps that the Advanced Suit 1, for some reason, is a lot duller in this game. So in comparison, this one stands out even more. But the red here, actually being red, is amazing, obviously, but I think the blue that's used here is also really good. Just in general, this suit has a very bright, very vibrant color scheme, and I really, really like it. I actually don't mind the removal of the thigh pad, because in my opinion, that didn't add anything to the suit, because I understand a lot of people think that this suit needs more red on the lower section. I disagree with that, actually, but I think if you're gonna add more red, where he needs more red is on the area below his knees. That's where he needs more red. This thigh section, I think because, if you have him standing like this, because his arms are red, I think that's enough red in that area. And I think his belt is pretty close to that thigh area too, so I think it's fine for him not to have the thigh pad. I think it's completely fine. And when it comes to having or not having red on the thigh, wow, that's clipping there. I'm gonna move him. When it comes to the red on the lower body, because his shoes on the back have this little red section here, I think it's completely fine for him not to have any other red on the suit. I don't think he needs boots. I think this little bit of red here on the shoes, I think that's all he needs. Yeah, from the front, it definitely looks a bit more naked, but it is a video game. You're mostly going to be seeing the suit from this, this angle. So I think that's enough red for the costume, honestly. I don't think he needs anything more on that lower section. Now, I do have one actual large problem with this suit, but before I get to that, I'd like to talk about a more minor issue, which is the arm guards. The design of these arm guards on this suit they're just okay. They're not as good, I think, as the ones from the first Advanced Suit. The first Advanced Suit's arm guards might not be as protective, as realistic, but I don't care. I think the design looked cooler, the way they went along the edges of his forearm. I thought that was really cool. But this piece right here, this solid piece right here, it feels so random, it's just kind of slapped on there. It doesn't flow into the web pattern, it doesn't flow into the white bits on whatever this is still a forearm, right? It doesn't flow into these white bits here. It's just a very randomly designed piece of arm protection. I really don't think that looks that good. It's fine, but it doesn't look as good as it should. And this area on his hand here, I think doesn't look as good as the one on the first Advanced Suit because the armor pieces are too close together. On the first Advanced Suit, if you look, you can tell that the knuckles and this hand pad are all pretty spaced out, and I think that works better because it really makes you believe that those are thicker, more solid armor pieces, and they need to have that leg room essentially in order to be able to move because they're not flexible. But here, because he has all these armor pieces so close together, it doesn't, to me at least, it doesn't give the impression that they're thick armor pieces. It just looks like a white glove essentially, and I don't think that looks as good. There's an artist on Twitter who did a mock-up of the Advanced Suit 2.0 with the arm pieces of the first Advanced Suit, and that looked really good. So I know for a fact it would look really good if they did that. As it is now, it's fine. It's not a huge issue, but I do think the suit would look better if these arm pieces were more like the one from the first game. The actual main problem I have with this suit, it's the piss pants. Because this area here is a darker section of blue compared to the rest of the suit, and you know, the placement of it, it looks like he pissed himself. Obviously, I know that's not what happened, but man, that's what it looks like. I really hope, they've got that Wolverine game coming out, I really hope that if they make like an original like advanced suit for Wolverine, that they don't give him these piss pants, because it doesn't look good. It looks so strange. I don't think it's necessary at all. The first advanced suit didn't have this. I don't understand why this one does. It's bizarre. And it's a problem on his back as well. His butt, it's like cut out, like almost in like a heart shape. It's calling attention to his butt, man. And like, look, I'm not against thirst trapping, bro. I just think there's a time and a place, and Spider-Man's default costume is probably not the place for that. So if you want to call attention to his butt, do it in an alternate suit or something, not on the default one. I think that's a little weird. There are other sections of this darker blue material. I think they're just superfluous and strange on the other parts, but this on the front and back are actually distracting, and I think it does take away from the suit, which is a shame because otherwise it's a pretty good suit. So in summary, this is a really solid design. Just get rid of the piss pants, fix the arm guards, and you would have something really, really good on your hands. As it is now, it's still pretty good. I would give the suit an 8 out of 10. It's a good costume. It just could be better. In regards to its alternate color schemes, we got this one, which is fine. Like, part of the reason I like the advanced suit too is that it has such a bright and vibrant color scheme. This one kind of takes that away, so I don't really like that. The piss pants are definitely less noticeable on this version, but they're still there, you can still see them. Something I don't think I've seen anyone bring up is that his shoes are still the same kind of orangey red on the default color scheme, so they don't really match the more pinkish red of the suit on this one, so I think that looks really strange. No one else seems to care about that. The Webman recolor is a funny reference, but I used it for like 2 seconds in my first playthrough, and I'll probably never use it again. Ass. Complete ass. I hate this. So next up is the Insomniac original take on the classic black suit. It's just called the black suit, but I'll call it the modern black suit, just so that it makes sense in my mind. I don't really like this one. You're forced to use it for a decent chunk of the story, so I gave it time to see if I would get attached to it, but that didn't happen. I never really grew to like this suit. It's just, it's the stuff I complained about before the game even came out. Like, it's just too much. All these different sections, it's too much. And hold on, let me turn the visual effects on so you can see the rippling water effect there. Man, like I said before, I think these more fleshy, almost like wrinkly trash bag material, it's too distracting. It stands out way too much from the rest of the suit, and it's especially apparent right here, right on the back of his head. That looks so strange. That's such a strange, like, I can't not see it. And again, this is what you're going to be seeing most of the time when you're playing the game. This is the angle you're going to be seeing it at, and it just it looks gross and uncomfortable. And I know some people be like, but that's the point though. But like, not really. Like, the characters in the game are still, you know, not really wary of the suit at this point. They still think it is largely a good thing. So for the suit to look this disgusting doesn't really fit the story. So I don't really like that. Like I said, I think it would be better if the suit was more armored, if it had more armor to it, so that these fleshier sections were like a very small detail that you could only see like just a smidge of it in between the armored sections. I think that would look a lot better. Another issue I have is I don't think the armor does a good job of integrating the symbol. The only way the armor is like integrated into the symbol at all is this like upper chest area here, that like those upper chest pads, because the legs, the top of the legs kind of line up with the pads there. But outside of that, I look at the stomach area, like the armor doesn't flow into the spider at all. It just looks like a normal armored suit that they just slapped the black suit logo onto. It's very awkward. Like this top part of the symbol here, the legs don't flow into it. The symbol doesn't flow into it. It's just kind of placed there, and I really don't like that. The only things I do like about this costume, the hand pad being this triangular shape here, I think that's an interesting update to the black suit, and it matches the angular designs of the legs So I think that's pretty cool. And outside of that, I like that it is still kind of faithful to the original black suit design. That's really it. Pretty much everything else about the suit I don't like. After the story ended, I used the suit for like a little bit to get like that like black suit fix, but once I unlocked the classic black suit, I never used this thing again. I just don't see the point, honestly. So I'd give this one like a 6 or 7. Like, it's fine. It's not the worst rendition of the black suit I've ever seen, but it's still a really strange looking costume. I don't really think the story does a good job justifying its existence either. So in general, I just don't like it that much. Like 6 or 7, somewhere there.
With the New Game Plus update, they've added suit styles for all of Peter's story-related symbiote suits. Starting with this one, they've added a recolor that references the original pitch idea for the black suit. The story behind this is pretty hilarious. Essentially, a fan pitched this idea of a new black costume to Marvel, and they bought it for like $200. With how popular the black costume and all the symbiote related stuff has become, it's hard not to think about how he got shafted out of a lot of money. Regardless of that, they've given the modern black suit a recolor based off that initial pitch, and it's okay. It's a neat reference, but it doesn't change my opinion on the suit at all. Then there's a white anti-venom style recolor that I think looks awesome. Having the white be the thicker armor pieces while keeping the fleshier sections black creates a really strong contrast between the two sections that I think drastically improves the design. This is the only one of the new recolors that actually changes my opinion on the suit itself. That's how much I like it. Then there's the last recolor that makes the fleshier sections actually flesh colored, and this one unnerves me in a way that I can't properly explain with words. Not a fan.
The symbiote suit is the transitionary form between the black suit and the Venom design. So you get this suit after a certain point in the story, and you're forced to wear it. So again, I gave it some time to see if it would grow on me. It didn't. It really didn't. I don't like this costume. I used the modern black suit a little bit after the story end, but I never touched this thing. I platinumed the game. I never touched this thing once the credits rolled. I understand what they were going for with this kind of almost veiny appearance here, but I think it's just too much. It's way too much. He looks like a dried up raisin. Not really a fan of that. And also, in regards to the suit looking alive, I think they kind of failed in that goal, because the modern black suit has that really weird fleshy section, and I think that looked more organic and alive than this. Like, if you look closely, you can see that it still has that kind of shimmering water effect, but I don't think it's as noticeable as it was on the other black suit. From a distance, the suit looks completely static, whereas I feel like the modern black suit, you can still see the rippling in the more fleshy sections, whereas this one you really can't. From a distance, it just looks like they poured like melted tar on him, and then it's solidified. It doesn't really look like he's wearing a living creature. The symbol is just kind of whatever. I like the eyes. I like how they're pretty aggressive, but that's kind of it. I don't really like the design of the suit. It's just kind of gross looking. If you're a fan of dried up raisin Spider-Man, then good for you, but I can't say that I am. I'd give this one like a 6. It's not awful. Like, I just don't think narratively the suit justifies its existence. I don't think the design is that strong. So yeah, I just don't like this one that much.
With this suit's suit styles, there's an anti-venom version, another one based off the original symbiote concept design, and a red Carnage-ish version. I don't like any of these. The only one I think had any potential was the original pitch recolor, but that one is held back by trying to stay faithful to the original pitch design. It doesn't exactly make sense to do that, since this design is very different from the original black suit design. If they had veered more from the original pitch and made the eyes red, that would have been a much more intimidating and interesting design.
The anti-venom suit is our last story-related suit. This is the third time I'll be saying this. You're forced to wear it in the story. I gave it some time to grow on me, and it didn't do that. I like the eyes. I think the idea of the anti-venom suit is neat, and that's kind of it. Pretty much the rest of the suit I don't really jive with. Well, that's not true. I kind of like how the legs of the symbol flow into this black section on his arms. I kind of like that, but at the same time, I don't think this black section on his arms should exist at all, because I think if you're gonna have this black section on his arms, then you need to add black on his lower body, kind of balance that out, and they don't do that. They have these thigh pads and this weird pseudo belt on the side. These don't add anything to the lower body, because again, where he needs more black is like around his knees or below it. Adding more black to like the midsection, I feel like it's just adding more black to the top of his body, so it doesn't really do anything. The design of it, like, look, again, it's like kind of not really belt. It's like a weird L shape they just slapped onto his side. It's so random. Like what is that even doing there? It's not like it's like one of the legs of the spider or something. Like it's just a random L, a random black L they just slapped on there. And the thigh pad, I already said this with the first advanced suit, I don't think it needs to be there. And another thing I don't like, his gloves. They just kind of cut off in a really flat way here, and they're really close to the wrist, so it's a very short, small glove. I feel like it would probably be better if it cut off higher and was more like angular. And then something else about this suit is that if you look closely at it, you can tell the suit has like panel lining, like seam lines and stuff, even though it's supposed to be like magic goo. So I feel like it shouldn't need this kind of thing, but it's there anyway. You can even see it on like the hands a little bit. He has like a shoulder pad. Look at this. Why does he have a shoulder? Why does he need that? Like, come on. It's just very strange. I don't know why that's there. And I have to address the elephant in the room. The texture they've given this suit. Everyone's already made the joke. You know what this is. It's cum. He looks like the suit's made out of cum. And look, everyone said that already. I know, I get it, but people say it for a reason. You put this kind of texture, and it moves around too. You put this kind of texture on something entirely white, there's really only one thing that's gonna come to mind. It looks fine on Venom and the symbiote suits because, you know, when you have like a black color and you give it that kind of texture, it evokes the image of oil or tar. With white, again, there's only one thing people are gonna think of. So yeah, I don't like that either, because in the books, I feel like the anti-venom symbiote, I always imagined it would look like more of a flesh kind of texture. Either that or like Elmer's glue. So it would be like a more like opaque white substance. I don't think I ever really imagined anti-venom looking like this. I think if they were going to do this costume, it should have been like the symbiote suits, where the entire suit is one color and then the symbol is pretty much the only other color, you know, and the eyes. So it should just be, you know, his head, keep that the same, but then make the entire suit white with just the symbol, maybe make it wrap around his like shoulders or something, I don't know. And that's it. I think that should be the design. So yeah, I'm gonna give this suit a 6. I think the eyes are neat. I think the rest of the design needs work. It's not terrible because from a distance, a lot of the suit's problems like the weird panel lining and this weird stupid like pseudo belt thing and all that kind of disappear and you don't really notice them that much. So yeah, anti-venom suit, 6 out of 10 on this bad boy.
Looking at this suit's alternate styles, I don't like any of them. The black version is alright, but I think the suit has such a weak design that just changing some colors isn't enough to fix it.
That brings us to the classic suit, and I can turn the visual effects off. So the classic suit is definitely a little bit different in this game. I went through the 2018 game again. I've got a PS5 and I didn't carry my save data over, so I went through the intro section again and then I played the game again on Spider-Man Remastered, just the intro section, just to see the classic suit. And in both games, it was pretty orangey, even in Remastered. Now that I've actually played it myself, I think it's still pretty orangey in that game. But here, it is definitely more red. It's redder than it was before. It's still a little more orangey than I would like it to be, but it is definitely more red. So I think it does look a little better than it did before. The blue seems to be a different color as well, although that could just be the power of the PS5 playing tricks on me, I don't know. So the suit looks better, but it's still not perfect. In some lighting it will look more orangey, and because the red is more dull, I think it looks really strange next to this very, very bright blue. I think if they were gonna make the red duller like this, then they should have gone with a duller blue. So the suit looks fine. I'd still give this an 8. It's decent. I still think the design of Insomniac's classic suit is really strong. I still think it needs a better color scheme. This is an issue they could have fixed with the alternate styles, but they didn't. Check this out. We've got Webman, who looks weird because in the comics, the blue on Webman was a lot lighter, but they've gone with this darker blue, which is not the same shade of blue that's on this costume, so they didn't even like invert the suit. They just decided on a completely different shade of blue, so that looks a little strange. It's not a huge thing, but it's a strange choice to make. Then we've got this suit that actually has what seems to be the original shade of red that was on this costume, because if you look at it, you can tell it's actually more orange than the default, just slightly, but it definitely is, which is also odd because I think if they kept the darker red that they've given this one, it would look better on this suit that has an almost black section here. You can tell if you like zoom in on it like really close and super bright lighting, you can tell it's like a weird bluish, but it does mostly look black, so I'm just gonna call it black. And then this suit, I think, has the same shade of red as this one. This one is supposed to look like the new advanced suit, so it's got a much lighter blue. This is essentially what I remember the blue looking like in the 2018 game, but I don't know, maybe I've completely lost my mind. Something else I have to note is that I feel like the lines on the blue section are a lot more noticeable here. They're a lot more apparent here than they were in the 2018 game. You basically could not see the lines in the 2018 game. You had to like really look closely at the suit. But here, even from like a distance, you can still kind of see them, which I think is kind of strange. I think the texture of the blue suit, of the blue section, has been changed, so that's interesting. But overall, the suit's just, I almost want to like downgrade it to a 7 because I feel like this should have been an easy slam dunk. I think a modern like red and kind of dark blue color scheme would have gone so hard with this version of the suit. I'm not really satisfied by this one. Like I said, I think the red is not great on this one. It's too orangey. Like I know it might sound like I'm being super harsh and nitpicky and like unpleasable, but I'm really not, man. Fortnite was able to do what I'm asking for, man. Midnight Suns, their Spider-Man design is but it's got a fantastic color scheme. Even Avengers was able to more or less get the right color scheme that I actually kind of want on Spider-Man. So like, look, dude, I'm really not asking for much. I'm really not. I feel like this suit could and should be so much better than it is. I'll still give it an 8. I'll be nice. I'll give it an 8, but I kind of want to give it a 7, honestly. The Scarlet Spider 3 suit is one of the suits that I was legitimately shocked to see in this game. I didn't think anyone actually wanted this thing, because when this suit first came out, it was after Ben Reilly came back after the clone conspiracy story, if I'm not mistaken. So he came back, he got this new costume, and people didn't like it. Part of the reason people didn't like it was because half the time they drew it with this weird Deadpool mouth thing. And if you don't know what I mean by that, oftentimes a character's mouth will be drawn underneath the mask, so you can like see their mouth through the mask. Usually Deadpool is drawn this way. That's why I call it Deadpool mask. So they drew it that way, and it looked really strange. I have no idea what compelled them to design the suit that way. I think it was Mark Bagley who designed the suit. Maybe it's pronounced Bagley, I'm not sure, and I apologize if that's wrong. But Mark Bagley is a fantastic artist. I've seen him be a fantastic artist, and he drew it with that weird mouth. Why did he do that? I don't know why he did that. And another reason people didn't like it, well, what they said was the reason they didn't like it was the color scheme. It wasn't the traditional Scarlet Spider color scheme. So they got rid of it. After like, I think like 3 issues or something, they got rid of it and they just slapped Ben back into his old costume, which I think was a mistake because he was in a very different headspace during the story. So I think giving him a different costume to visually communicate that is a good idea, and just having him revert to his original suit without really earning it, I think not such a great idea. In my opinion, the 2 actual issues the suit had were, number 1, the Deadpool mouth, and number 2 was the eyes. People said that they didn't like the color scheme because it made him look too much like Peter, but I think the color scheme was fine. I think the color scheme was not the real issue. At the very least, it could have been overlooked if they had fixed something else, something that I think a lot of people didn't really talk about, which was the eyes. The eyes are drawn like the typical normal Spider-Man eyes, and because of those eyes and the color scheme, it looked like he was just a variation of Peter, like some kind of alternate suit for Peter. So this game has really fixed the 2 issues with the suit. They fixed the eyes, they fixed the mouth, and voila! That's a really good costume design. This suit is really solid. I've always thought that, and now I think this is probably the best rendition of the suit that's ever been made, and quite possibly the last. I really don't think the suit will ever show up in anything ever again, because I don't think it's a very popular costume. This is probably this suit's last hurrah in pop culture, and I think there's nothing really wrong with this suit. I still think it's a good suit. I'd give it like an 8. The reason why I can't give it a higher score is because when using Spider-Man in this game, specifically when using Peter in this game, you have those abilities where you're either shooting fat white ropes or you have mechanical arms materialize out of your back. So using this costume, which is a more traditional, normal Spider-Man suit, really, doesn't look right with either of those abilities. You're gonna be hearing this a lot. I straight up despise how the abilities work in this game, specifically for Peter. I think they make half of his costumes look goofy, and I think that is a serious problem for this one as well. And the other issue the suit has is simply that it's outclassed by a lot of other suits that I also think have really good designs. While this is a really good costume, I think it is sort of left in the dust a bit. It has some pretty good suit styles too. I think this one is actually really, really good and cool. I think this is a really fun color scheme. This one's okay. This one's kind of neat. So yeah, this is generally a really good suit. It's just there are other issues in the game kind of outside of this costume's control that kind of detract from it. But this is generally a good suit. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Wow, there it is, the first the first advanced suit. Wow, what a piece of junk, man. This looks so bad. I can't believe how bad the suit looks in this game. The orange section is a lot less vibrant than it was in the first game, but outside of that, the suit looks the same. This is still the same costume. Some people have said that there are issues with this costume, but I don't know. To my eye, even like zooming in as like close as I can, it looks pretty much the same. But wow, it is shocking how bad this looks compared to the new advanced suit. Obviously, you've got the color scheme. That's the most important, most obvious, most noticeable difference, but there's other stuff too, like how the legs of the symbol go outside the orange section there. It's especially bad on the back because these top legs just feel so random, not lining up to the orange section there. And that's really it, because like honestly the suit is not that bad. I like laugh at it and I call it trash all the time, but it's not that bad. It's just the wrong color. Like if you made this suit actually red, then it would look a lot better. The rest of the design elements are just fine. Like I said, I actually prefer these arm guard designs. I think the white spider symbol on Spider-Man, I think is actually a really cool idea, and I still like how they stand out a lot, especially at night. I think it looks really good, but it's pretty much just the color scheme that's holding this thing down. If you gave it a better color scheme, I'd be willing to overlook the issues this suit has. Something else when looking at this suit compared to the second advanced suit is that the shape of his head is very different. His head is more round and kind of bulbous in the advanced suit too. Looking at the alternate colors for this one, this is maybe a Webman reference. I think it looks hideous though. If you're gonna invert the spider symbols to be black, then you should invert the eyes to be black with white rims, but they didn't do that. The rims are red. Why? This suit is actually really good. I used this for a little bit too after finishing the story because it looks cool. It kind of gave me that black suit fix. Originally, I was like, oh, thank God the symbiote suit is not just a black recolor of the advanced suit. But now, after looking at it, this is a good design. I can see why people would want the black suit to look like this. I'm gonna take a sip out of this water here. I might hear the ice clinking in it. What the hell was I talking about? Right. Yeah, this is pretty cool. Mostly because it fixes the biggest issue the advanced suit had, which was the color scheme. And then you have this atrocity, which I think is based off of Spider-Man's recent Oscorp suit. What the hell is going on with the hands here? Hold on. I hadn't seen that before. What is this? What is this? What? Why does it look like that? Is it like reflecting the green of the pants? That's so gross. I also hadn't noticed that the thigh pads are green. That looks disgusting. Yeah, this is definitely a reference to the Oscorp suit, which is FYI, a horrible costume. But for those of you that like it, all 2 of you on the planet, I hope you're happy with this St. Patty's Day abomination. Jesus Christ, what is this? Next one. Let's get to the next suit. I don't want to look at this. Oh, god damn it. This one's even worse. I forgot. This one, 6. Just like the first game. I'll give it a 6. This suit sucks. I hate it. It's so dumb. Look at this thing. It's got googly eyes on it, man. Like, what? From my understanding, this is supposed to be a traditional Japanese design, but I don't like it. Like I said, I think it looks silly. The googly eyes completely kill it for me. I just generally don't like the lack of noticeable Spider-Man imagery, because there is a spider on the back. You can tell it's a very interesting design, but it's just not that big. And like, I feel like the thing that you're really going to notice on the back are these little straps here. They kind of distract from everything else. You can see if you press play that it moves around a little bit. There's a little bit of animation on the red part. Just a smidge. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's definitely there. Is this supposed to be like skin? Like he's like an Oni or something? Because there's like seam lines, it's like panel lining as if it's a costume. So are these not tattoos then? It's just so ugly, man. I'm giving this a 1. And that 1 point is only because it's somewhat creative. I'll give it points for that. It is definitely creative. This looks better. This black version looks better. I think the spider pops a bit more. It's better. It's still not great. Booty cheeks. That's kind of interesting. I think this one looks... The eyes, man. The eyes kill. I can't. 1. The high-mid suit. The hybrid suit. I gave it a 7 in my last video. And that's because when it comes to Tom Holland's Spider-Man, the MCU Spider-Man, it's really difficult for me to be impartial. In fact, it's downright impossible. I just can't really do it. I like nothing about him is the issue. So when it comes to his costumes, I can't really divorce the character from the suit. So I couldn't really give like a fair and accurate judgment to this costume before my bias clouded my judgment. So I gave it a 7 just to be nice and give it like a safe, like mediocre score. But that was me being way too generous in hindsight. The suit's like a 5. It's still not the ugliest thing I've ever seen. It's not the Kumo suit, but really all it is, it's a needlessly complicated redesign of the Far From Home suit. That's really all it is. It's also slightly more orange for some reason. Through the power of the PS5, the gold on it really shines and is kind of reflective. That's neat, I guess, but I still don't like this design. I think its existence in the movie, like I get how it adds this gold spider to his chest, but why does it add random red lines of fabric to the rest of the costume? I don't think that makes sense. So I'm giving the suit a 5. It's mid. It's a mid suit. 5 out of 10. The suit from the first Amazing Spider-Man movie, I gave it an 8 before, and I still think it's a strong design. I won't lower my rating for it, but I will say that I hardly ever used this costume in this game, for a certain reason that I'll get to in a second, but it's still a good design. I think the eyes look a little bit darker in this game. I think it's just because of the lighting. The lighting's different, the lighting's more dynamic, so I think the eyes look darker most of the time, whereas they were pretty bright yellow in the first game. So I think that looks better, because in the movie, the eyes looked darker more often than not, so I think that's pretty cool. But like I said, I don't use this costume that much. This suit is still an 8, but I don't use it because of another suit, which is this one, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 costume, which is so much better. There's still something about this costume that doesn't quite look right compared to its screen counterpart. I think the eyes, there's something with the eyes. It still looks a little weird. The web pattern is not raised on this costume like it should be. It's not as raised as it is on the Raimi suit. However, it is supposed to be raised and it's not. It's just painted onto the suit, which does look a little strange once you zoom in on it. But from a distance, it looks amazing. I think the shade of red and blue are amazing. The red is actually even more red than it was in the film. If you notice in the movie, the reddish color is really kind of pink. There's a little bit of pink in there. This one's more red. I think that's really good, actually. I think that's an improvement. The suit is basically a 10. The only gripe I have with it is I still think the symbol is low, and I know people will be like, oh, but it's like to flow into that like side area. It's like, I feel like you could have the symbol higher and it would still do that. I think you could put the symbol a good like inch or 2 higher and it would look a lot better. Because like, yeah, like the top part of his chest is just empty. Like, look at that. There's nothing there. So yeah, I feel like the symbol could be higher, especially with how long the legs are. I feel like the symbol could definitely be higher. And just fun fact, the shape and size of his head is actually different, and his moobs, his man boobs, are less pronounced. Because if you look at this thing, Peter's got some big old titties, man, and you can really see them. Like, they're really there. Yeah, he's got some big old titties, and they've been toned down for both of the Amazing suits. And the MCU suits as well, you can tell. So yeah, they definitely do change his body on several suits. So yeah, this suit, 10. 10 out of 10.
Hey, future me here. As of this video's air date, the eyes of this suit are bugged and will look borked sometimes.
Then we get to this suit, the 2099 suit. I'm gonna have to knock this one down a point from what I gave it in the first game. It had two major issues in the first game. Issue 1 was the lack of a cape, which they could have fixed in this game because there are several costumes in this game that have capes. So there are cape physics in the game already, and they could have made a new cape and slapped it onto this suit, but they didn't. They didn't do that. Now that we have the technology, and they didn't do it. And you know, they could have made the cape into his web wings as well. Like the cape like unfurls and he glides with that. That would have been spectacular. The other issue that this suit has, which has become even worse compared to the first game, which are these stupid lines. These stupid purple lines. In the first game, you could barely see these because of how the game was lit. So only in like certain lighting could you see these lines on the suit. But now, because of the change in lighting in this game, you can see these lines all the time. Even at a distance, you can still see them. You can't not see them. And like, I don't have an issue with superhero costumes having a ton of lines on them. That's a common talking point you'll see in superhero costume discussion is, you know, over design and oh, there's too many lines, yada yada. I'm fine with having a ton of lines on a superhero suit if they don't distract from the design. Usually, if you're gonna have a ton of lines on the suit, if they're the same color as the rest of the suit, then it's not that big of a deal. If they did that for this suit, if you took these stupid purple lines and just made them generally the same shade of blue as the rest of the suit, then it would look fine. But they didn't do that. These lines are purple, and because they're a different color, a different material, they stand out so much and they're so distracting. So yeah, I don't like that at all. Outside of that, the suit is still good. It's still, you know, the 2099 design, which is great. Although I'm gonna check something real quick. Yeah, these circular things are black. I could have sworn they were white in the first game. And in terms of its recolors, there's the black one. I'm not a black suit 2099 fan, so I might not have a leg to stand on here. I'll probably be shot down for this, but I think the shade of black is too light. It's really more of a grayish color. Honestly, I feel like the black should probably be darker. Kind of thankful I'm not a black suit 2099 fan, because if I was, I might be incredibly disappointed. I mean, Godzilla Mendoza seems to be happy, so if he's happy, then I guess it's fine, but I think the black is maybe a bit too light. Then there's this one's fine. Kind of symbiote suit, even though it kind of has the same problem where there's like some lighter coloration here, which I think is kind of distracting. And then this, I think is a Chasm reference, because everyone loves Chasm. So as a whole, this suit, 7 out of 10. No cape, plus these stupid freaking lines. Maybe I am just being a big old baby, but I literally can't bring myself to use this. I can use Spider-Man 2099 with a cape in Fortnite, so I feel like the Spider-Man game should be able to do it too. Then we have the Scarlet Spider suit, which has a very similar problem to the 2099 costume, which is that some of the line work on it is now a lot more noticeable than it was. Specifically, these lines here on his, the area near his shoulders, and these ones on his thighs. They are so distracting now. Again, in the first game, it was all pretty much the same color, so you couldn't really see these areas that much. They didn't really stand out that much. They just felt like another part of the suit. It was the type of additional detailing that I think is really good. But here, good God, what happened? The 2018 version of the suit was the first time I'd ever liked the Scarlet Spider suit because I thought it added the perfect amount of detail without going overboard. And then with this one, they just took that away. I don't know if they colored it differently or if it's just the lighting that's different. So just like the 2099 suit, I cannot bring myself to use this thing. Wow, that is cursed to see the eyes move around. As far as alternate styles go, this is booty, and I'm assuming a Chasm reference as well. And this one is kind of a Webman thing, but I don't really like this one that much either. It's got a weird color scheme. In general, 6. So now here we are at the Superior suit. This was one of the suits I was most looking forward to in this game, one of my most anticipated costumes. It's fantastic to see it here. It looks pretty much perfect. There are two issues I've got with this suit, and both of them are really minor. The first issue is the messy webbing. Now, you might be confused because that's what the costume originally looked like. It originally had messy webbing. And again, this is more of a personal thing, but the Superior Spider-Man is Otto Octavius in Peter's body. And so I never really liked the messy web pattern on him because Octavius is like a super genius. The whole point of the story is that he thinks he's better than everyone, so this kind of messy patchwork web design doesn't really fit him, I don't think. I don't think it really fits that character. I don't think it really fits his mentality. I think it would be a lot better if it was just a more uniform web pattern. Like, honestly, I think the character would probably like 3D print his suit with some kind of really elaborate advanced machine. So I think if anything, the web pattern should be like super perfect and like geometric in its design. Maybe something like honestly what Spider-Man's iconic suit had in the Avengers game. I feel like that would probably be more fitting for a superior Spider-Man costume. But that is how it was designed in the original books, and I understand why it was designed that way, so that you could tell that the character is evil just by looking at him because his web pattern's all messed up. But still, I don't really like it that much. It's a personal preference though. I still think the costume looks cool. The other thing that I don't really like about this suit is the shoes. So he's got his big toe separated from the rest of his toes, and he's got this little claw here. If you haven't read Superior Spider-Man, you're probably confused as to why this is an issue, and maybe as to why this is even here at all. See, the thing with Superior Spider-Man is that he actually wore two main costumes during that initial Superior Spider-Man run. The first Superior Spider-Man costume was essentially a recolor of the classic Spider-Man suit. Otto's new suit was orange and black as opposed to red and blue. But there were other changes. His eyes were more goggle-like, and he didn't have the area that connected the gloves to his shoulders. He had a more spiky back spider, and he had segmented toes. He had the big toe separated from the rest. Additionally, that big toe also had a claw, a retractable claw he could pop out and stab people with. So all that's well and good, but the thing is that was on the first version of the Superior Spider-Man suit, not on this suit, which is the second version of the Superior Spider-Man suit. On the second one, his shoes were just normal shoes. At least that's what they seemed like. I don't recall them ever having these claws on them. So I think all they're doing is they're just paying homage to the first version of the Superior Spider-Man suit, and I get that, but man, it looks kind of strange when you zoom in on it like that. That and the web pattern are both super minor issues. Outside of that, this costume looks super cool. It's got the backpack on it. When you use the mechanical arms, they'll come out of this backpack and they'll be matching colors, and that looks great. It's one of the few suits I can actually stomach using the mechanical arms with. So I think the suit looks really cool. I think it works really well with the abilities. So 9 or 10, either of those, but well, it's really more of a 9. It's one of those, it's another one of those instances where it's not that like the suit is bad, it's just that there are other suits that I think are better. In relation to the other suits, it's a 9. When it comes to the suit styles, this one I don't like. It gives me big Player 2 recolor energy. This one I think is a waste of time. It's just like a strange, like slightly alternate costume. I feel like a Superior Venom recolor would have been better than this. And then this one is a reference to the Superior Octopus, which is neat, I guess. It's certainly a color scheme that stands out, but I don't think it's as good as the actual Superior Octopus design, and it's kind of a strange color scheme, honestly. So this costume, I like this suit in the first game. I think it's one of the few examples of the modern superhero video game trope of getting a new suit for the final battle. But that's one of the reasons why I don't like it in this game. This suit was created specifically to fight Dr. Octavius, and Doc Ock isn't in this game at all. I mean, he's in the post-credit scene, but in the actual game you never like fight him or anything, so why is this suit still here? It doesn't have a purpose to exist here anymore. And in terms of black costumes that light up, I think it's outclassed by the big time suit, so I don't fully understand why this suit is here. I never really used it myself, and the mechanical arms aren't changed to match this costume's color scheme, which I think would actually have justified this costume's inclusion if they had done that. That way, the mechanical arms on this suit could look like the mechanical arms that Dr. Octopus used. I think that actually would have been really, really cool, but they didn't do that. And on top of that, it has new issues introduced in this game, most obvious of which is the eyes. The eyes are kind of messed up, and you can see there's more light on like the edges of the rim. There definitely should not be light there. And something else right here. You see that little white rectangle? What's that doing there, man? How'd that get in there?
Hey, it's Future Me here, chiming in to say that they fixed all these issues with the New Game Plus update.
Let me look at the recolors real quick. This recolor is okay, but the other two recolors, booty cheeks and booty cheeks, because of more minor issues, the arms not being changed to match up to the suit, and the fact that I'm miffed about this making it in over the big time suit, I'm gonna have to lower the score to a
7.5.
The Arachnite suit is from a comic event where they mixed a whole bunch of characters together. So this is Spider-Man mixed with Moon Knight. I didn't read it. It looked like a total gimmick storyline. And yeah, I don't like this one. Like, I get it. I think it largely succeeds in what it's aiming to do, but I feel like it generally doesn't have that much Spider-Man iconography to it, so I don't really feel like Spider-Man when using it. I think it might just be too much because you got like baggy pants, but then it's like cut off by these tight cloth around the lower parts of his legs, a little bit of red on the shoes, and then like the upper body has a different like red material, but then like his gloves have the web pattern and only the gloves, and it's just like it's too much, man. It's just too much. There's a lot going on here. I just don't like it. I don't think it's that great of a design. I'd give this like a 6. I don't use this thing at all. I think all the recolors are complete trash. This is the only one that looks like a real costume. All the other ones look like bootleg action figures. Now we have the noir suit specifically from Into the Spider-Verse. And I will say off the bat, this is a lot better than Insomniac's noir suit from the 2018 game, since I had quite a bit of issues with that one. This one, it's better. It has the coat, it has the hat, that's neat. I like the eyes a lot better. I don't like that it's the animated one. I'm not one of those people that thinks that like animation is like inherently worse or anything. I am talking about a video game after all. But I think Into the Spider-Verse's art style doesn't fit this super realistic art design that this game has, because this costume sticks out like a sore thumb, and I just don't think it really fits with the rest of the world. So it just looks strange, especially like the gigantic collar he's got, like the proportions of him. He just looks weird, and like the dot tone thing he's got going on is just strange. So I do like it more than the noir suit from the first game, but I still wouldn't use this one that much, if at all. And again, it just looks strange with the venom powers and the mechanical arms. Nothing says a guy from the 1930s like magic nanotech arms appearing out of his back. So yeah, I don't really like this one that much in this game, but it's still really good. It's just not peak. I would have preferred a better designed, realistic take on the noir suit from the comics and not the one from the animated movie. It's still good though. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. This is the homemade suit from the MCU. The M stands for mid, which is what describes his costume. Give this one like a 5. Generally, if a costume looks like it could be dug out of a dumpster or assembled from Goodwill, then I probably don't like it, so moving on. The Spider-Punk costume is, like I said in an earlier video, a costume I've never really liked all that much. I think it's too tame. It doesn't really, in my opinion, capture the vibe of being a punk. And in this game specifically, the red is super orange. Oh my god, it's really bad. I better not see a single comment saying that this thing isn't orange, man. So this suit, I gave it a 6 before, I'll give it a 5 now. The color scheme legitimately makes it unusable for me. There are alternate colors, of course. This one I think is pretty bad. This one is okay, and this one is also just okay, but none of them make me like want to use this suit because the general design of it is still not super great. So yeah, 5 out of 10, not a fan. Moving on, we have the Secret Wars Civil War suit, which is a really stupid and long name, but it's not the game's fault. That's pretty much what the story was in the books. It's from the 2015 Secret Wars event, and they had a ton of, I want to say, tie-in books, but I don't think any of those books actually tied into the main story, so I don't know if that's the correct term, but in one of those tie-in books was essentially a what-if story. What if the superhero Civil War had continued? So in the story, Iron Man has control of half the United States, and it's called the Iron, and then Captain America has control of half the United States, called the Blue. Just like the story originally, Spider-Man defects to Captain America's side, but because he had revealed his identity while he was with Iron Man, he doesn't wear a mask anymore. So this game invented a new mask design to match the suit. They've also overhauled the shirt design and really armored the hell out of it. In the comic book, the way it was drawn, I always assumed that it was just like a shirt like an athletic shirt, like an Under Armour type thing, but they went and made it this kind of like fancy sci-fi armor, which I don't think really fits the kind of dilapidated and almost dystopian world that the character lived in the comic book, but whatever. They've made the mask match it as well, but it's one of those things where it's like, it's not technically wrong, but it's not really the way I would have interpreted the suit. I think the suit had a real like scrapped together kind of look in the book, and I feel like that doesn't really come across here. I feel like it's too high tech. It's alright. This suit is alright. It's an interesting design. I'll give it like a 7. It's not my personal taste, but I do think it is pretty neat. The alternate colors, like this white snow camo one, I think is pretty cool. This one I think is just too much green, and then this one looks like a complete joke. I don't know what the deal is with this. So yeah, the suit as a whole, I'll give it like a 7. The Iron Spider armor is quite possibly the only suit in this game that looks a lot better here than it did in the first game. And due to the hashtag power of the PS5, the suit is now a lot more reflective than it was in 2018. And because of that, it's also a bit darker in its color, which I think really aids the suit. I complained in the first game how the sections that were not covered in thicker armor pieces looked too much like cloth, and I think that distracted from the rest of the suit. But here, because it's shiny, it still looks like some kind of metallic material, and I think that looks really good. Like this version has almost fixed all my issues with what the suit looked like in the first game. It's just that it still has these stupid silver sections. I didn't like them in 2018. I don't like them here. I get it. It's to make it look more realistic or whatever, but it's just too much. And I can prove that it's too much because there are alternate colors. Mid, there we go. This costume looks really cool. They've done a handful of changes, like the arc reactor lights are yellow now, the pattern on the more fabric-y sections is different. The black parts of the suit are not really reflective anymore. They're not that metallic material, they're more like a matte material with much flatter lighting on them. But the biggest improvement is that the stupid silver sections are gone. I mean, they're not gone, they're still there, it's just that now they're black so they don't stand out so much from the rest of the suit. And this makes the costume look amazing. This recolor of it is super cool. Probably my favorite of the suit styles for Peter, it's this one. This one looks amazing, it's so cool to look at.
The recolors of the suit have a bug where a section on the back is incorrectly colored white. It can be ignored most of the time, but for me it stands out a lot at night and it really pisses me off.
I still have a bias for the red version because that's like the original. So yeah, this suit I'd call it a 10. The Raimi black suit. I can't talk about this without first discussing the normal Raimi suit. So if you look at it, I think the blue section looks better here than it did in 2018. The blue was maybe too vibrant in 2018 and it was almost kind of purple depending on the lighting. Maybe the red has changed too, I'm not entirely sure. But what I really want to talk about is the web pattern. The web pattern is all kinds of screwed up. I think what happened is when they made this suit, they first painted over on the model where the web pattern was going to go. And then afterwards, they put the 3D model of the web pattern on top of it. And what seems to have happened here is that they screwed up that process somehow, and the 3D model web pattern is now misaligned with the drawn web pattern on the suit. So in certain sections you can see this, and it looks like the web pattern has been like doubled up essentially. That looks really bad. You're not going to see it in normal gameplay. It's not the kind of change you can see from an airplane or anything. But in a cutscene, whenever the camera pulls in close to this guy, or when you're in photo mode, like me, you're going to notice this kind of thing. And also you can see there the web pattern is clipping into his eye. There's another smaller issue, which is that if you look at it from this angle, you can see that the symbol on his back, the torso of the spider, is just kind of like floating there. It's not actually like aligned with his back. And so I bring up all these problems, I highlight all of these, because none of them are on the black version. The black version, the web pattern is completely perfect. It's fine. No double ups, no nothing. It's completely normal looking. The symbol isn't awkwardly floating in the air on his back. Web pattern isn't clipping into his eyeball either. The black Raimi suit is just flat out better than the red and blue one.
Hey, it's future me here. The red and blue Raimi suit has been touched up in the New Game Plus update. The colors have been changed, and while I like the new blue, I'm not sold on the red. I feel like it's a bit too light and should be deeper. The web pattern has seen the biggest improvement. It's thinner and the double up alignment issue has been fixed. I still think the web pattern reflects too much light, but I'll take what I can get. Hilariously enough, the back logo floating in the air has still not been fixed.
Now, the black suit does inherit the issue that the Raimi suit had in the first game, which is that I still think the web pattern is maybe a bit too thick, maybe a bit too shiny, but I think it looks better on this costume, since without it the suit would look really, really dull and drab, so I think it looks really good here. The black Raimi suit gets an 8. The black one looks really good. So I'll give the red Raimi suit an 8. Then we have this suit, which for some reason has been renamed. It's not the Stark suit anymore, it's the upgraded classic suit, which is ironic given that it's a downgrade from its appearance in the first game. Where is the web pattern? And even the lines on the blue section seem to be a different color as well. I feel like they were definitely a strong black before, and now they're like a dark blue, which I think actually does make the suit look better.
Future me again. Both the web pattern and the lines on the blue section have been restored to their original intended appearance.
Yeah, I'll still give this suit a 7. Most of my dislike of it comes from disliking the MCU version of Spider-Man, but it looks fine in this game. The new blue suit is a variation on the Fantastic Four costume. The premise is that the Fantastic Four are out for some reason, so they need some temporary stand-ins, and one of the guys they get for that is Spider-Man, so they give him the suit, and golly, I think of all the Fantastic Four suits they could have gone with in this game, I think this might actually be the most boring. There's no 4, it's really just a color scheme. Outside of that, you have a needlessly over-designed blue and black costume, and the recolors are so strange. Like this one looks, this suit is so strange. This is so cursed looking. It's got like, blue on the hands, no web pattern, a white back logo, all these weird like lines on the suit that cut it up in ways that are, wow, his butt is really, god damn, look at that. So yeah, like it's just a really strange looking costume. And the other color schemes, like this one would be better if it wasn't super obnoxious with this neon blue stuff going on. And this one is just, again, it's just needlessly complicated. Get rid of all this gray stuff on it. You don't need that there. I'm giving this one like a 4. It's pretty bad. I've never used this suit. The upgraded suit from Far From Home it's decent. The red only being on his fingers kind of reminds me of Miles Morales, which is kind of an ongoing problem with MCU Spider-Man. I'll give it like a 7. Yeah, it's okay. I can't really say anything about it. Like the colors are decent. The design isn't super obnoxious. It's fine. It's an alright design. This piece of garbage, though, I said it before in an earlier video. It just doesn't look like Spider-Man, and I understand it's the point, but I still don't like it. I'll give it like a, I'll give it like a 6. It's really just like tactical. It's just black tactical gear, but with Spider-Man eyes on it. The best thing about this suit is the Night Monkey meme. That's really it. Oh, yes. There it is. My beauty, my love. There it is. The classic black suit. Once I got this, I never used any of this game's other symbiote designs because why would you? I mean, look at this thing. It's basically perfect. I do have some super minor gripes with the symbol. I think the torso of the spider is too big, and I wish the spider legs were thicker, but that's super minor. That's just a matter of preference, Basically, I would just prefer for this symbol to look the way it did when Bagley drew it. That's pretty much it. I just want it to look like a Bagley drawing, but that's small potatoes. That's super minor stuff. It's pretty much perfect. I like how he's got like well-defined muscular in this thing. You can even see like veins on it. I like how just simple it is. It just keeps it simple, but also renders it in like a realistic style, and it looks good. It looks great. Like, this is easily the best version of the black suit we've seen in a video game. It even mogs the Fortnite one, because the Fortnite one has that weird little like squiggle underneath his armpit on the spider legs. Instead of coming into this perfect V here, it has that weird little squiggle on it. But this one is perfect, literally perfect. 10 out of 10. Best version of the black suit. The recolors, the purple version, It's okay. I don't use it myself. I always would have preferred if in Web of Shadows you could just use the black version of the suit. And like, I get it. In Ultimate Spider-Man, the suit was purple, and I think it looked cool there. But I think it only looked cool in Ultimate Spider-Man because in that comic, at least in those like earlier issues, like everything had like a super exaggerated color to it. So the black suit being purple really fit with that world. And I feel like it just doesn't look right outside of that context. This white anti-venom one, it's fine. I don't like how you can see the veins even more now, but I do think the texture here is better. It's closer to that, what I was saying earlier, how I think anti-venom needs to have more of a fleshy texture rather than the other one. And then this one is the one that is referencing Venom from the 90s cartoon. It's a pretty cool reference, pretty cool colors, but one little problem with the suit here. There seems to be a little seam line on the color effect on the back of his torso there. And once I saw it, I couldn't like unsee it, and it looks like, and now it looks like the suit is two different pieces, like a top and pants, and I think that looks really strange. So I never really use this one because of that one super minor thing. I can't really bring myself to use it, but it is pretty cool. I am glad to see it here. I think it's a really fun and creative addition. So yeah, again, this suit, 10 out of 10. Another mid-CU inclusion, the Iron Spider suit, as seen on TV. I still think this suit is way too orange in its colors. The blue, again, way too washed out. I got a few comments saying that I was wrong, that the colors are perfect and that it looks just like it did in the movie, but that's not true. I know that for two reasons. One, this suit is also in Avengers, and that game actually got the colors correct. And if you compare that suit to this one, you'll see that the colors are quite different. And number two, this was pointed out to me in a comment, and I want to thank that person. The shoulder pads here have these black sections, and that's supposed to be the legs of the spider. The legs of the spider are supposed to come into that black section on the shoulder pads and match up, but the colors are wrong. The shoulders are black, and then this section is way more washed out blue than it should be, so these two areas don't match up, even though if you look at the suit in the movie, the shoulder pieces and the symbol are the same color. Someone pointed that out in a comment because I hadn't actually noticed that before, and I couldn't believe it when I read it. I was like, there's no way that's true, and I looked at it, and he was completely right about that. Thank you to that commenter for pointing that out, giving me yet another reason to justifiably hate on this costume. So overall, this thing's like a 5. It's not great in this game. I also think they screwed up the eyes a little bit. They just look weirdly shaped now. The new red and blue suit is the No Way Home final swing suit. That's what a lot of people online have been calling it. This game calls it the new red and blue. Whatever, same thing. It's the same thing. Gonna be honest, never really got the whole big hubbubaloo over this costume. Because, you know, people are excited like, oh, like he's finally the real Spider-Man now. It only took like 5 years and 6 movies, but now finally he's the real Spider-Man. And like, I don't know, man. I think it's just too little too late. I don't really care for this version of the character anymore. And I think that no matter what you do, you can't separate him from the past. Even like right now, you can see the symbol is gold. There's a whole discussion online over what color the symbol was, whether it was black or whether it was gold. And I feel like this game kind of definitively answers that it's gold. You know why? It's a reference to Iron Man, because no matter what you do, you can never untangle this character from Iron Man. Something else with the suit is that the blue areas look a little greenish, and it's not that they're actually green. What it is that it's a really reflective blue. So when you shine a yellow light on it, it's going to reflect blue as it normally does, and it's going to reflect yellow too. So when you combine yellow with blue, you're going to end up with green. This is the most unintuitive how do you... That's all it is. It's just a matter of reflecting light. It's not actually green or turquoise, even though it looks that way. It's just reflecting the light, which has a little bit of yellow in it, so it looks a little greenish. If you bring the suit into a darker area, you'll see that the greenish color goes away and it just looks normally blue. But overall, I still don't like this costume that much. It's just the normal Spider-Man suit. You know, I don't think it should be celebrated that much. Like, he pretty much already had this design in Civil War and Homecoming. This one is simpler, of course, but it's still pretty much the same thing. I think the back spider logo is kind of lame, honestly. I don't really like it that much. And if I wanted to use a classic red and blue Spider-Man suit, then I still think that the TASM 2 costume looks a lot better than this one. This one's just okay. It's fine, I guess. I'll give it an 8. I'll be nice, I'll give it an 8. The black and gold suit is a suit that I seem to like a lot more than other people. The general consensus is that people seem to really hate this thing, and I don't. I think it's mid, but I think it's interesting in its color scheme and the kind of circuit board appearance that it has. I like the exposed wires. I think it's kind of interesting. The mystical web shooter from Doctor Strange is cool. It's a cool, fun reference. And yeah, like the black and gold color scheme is interesting. What I think is really, like, undeniably stupid is the canon reason for this suit's appearance, that it's just the Far From Home suit inside out. There's no way this is actually the inside of the suit. There's no way he's running around with all these, like, exposed wires and stuff, like, touching his skin. Like, that would be the most uncomfortable thing ever. There's no way the suit actually looks like this. If they had instead said that this suit was, like, the underlayer of a suit he hadn't finished building yet. So there's like the fabric underneath that's touching his skin that's soft, and then there's this layer over top of it, and then a third layer, which is the pretty red and blue section on top. Then I think that actually would have made more sense, but this like inside out business is so dumb. And yeah, the suit exists just to sell toys. Like let's be real here. But the design, I think the design isn't that bad. I think it at least tries something interesting.
I'll give this one a 6 out of 10.
The Life Story suit is from the final issue of Spider-Man Life Story. I think this is probably the best suit from that story they could have gone with. I think all the other suits in that story were kind of lame. They were mostly just like the classic suit with a bunch of random armor pieces thrown on top of it. This one I feel like is really the only one that does its own thing, and it is the one from the final issue where he, spoiler alerts, doesn't make it. So it's neat to see this thing, although it's kind of a shame that they didn't give him the light up transparent lenses so you could see his eyes underneath, but I understand why they did that. But it's like, I don't know, it's like a kind of old-fashioned spacesuit. It's fine, I guess. I really wouldn't use it myself. Like it's again, it's an interesting design, but not something that floats my boat personally. So I'll give it like a 6. It's a fantastic adaptation of the suit from the books. Like literally, I think the only thing that's incorrect is the lenses. But again, I understand why it's like that. They just seem to not want to animate Peter's face at all when he's wearing the mask, which I get it. That's understandable. The suit styles, that one's okay. That was okay. Booty cheeks. The Last Hunt suit. Now we're getting to the really bad stuff. This suit, it has the same problem that a lot of these like fusion suits have when you mix another character in here, is that like one of the character's designs is just gonna get lost in the shuffle. I want to make it clear, this is not an inherent problem with mixing two character designs together. You can mix two characters together and get a good costume that reflects the both of them. I'm just saying that a trap that these costumes often run into is that one of the characters' designs gets overpowered by the other. In this case, this is like 99% a Kraven costume. Like if you just look at it from behind, you would think this was like Kraven 2099, some kind of like futuristic Kraven guy. Only when you look at it from the front that you see the spider symbol, and only when you zoom in do you see the web pattern on his face. I think a much smarter and more creative way to approach this costume would be instead to give him the jacket that Kraven typically has, but instead of being the face of a lion, it should be the face of a spider. There are some spiders that are furry, that have hair on them, so I think using those hairy, furrier, fuzzier spiders as inspiration for this costume, I think actually would have been really interesting. But they didn't do that. So I think this suit really sucks. I'd give it like a 3 or 4, somewhere there. And I think the styles are also really bad. You've got puke green, blue, and this one's not terrible. But what sours all of these recolors for me is that none of them change the color of the fur. I think it would be really cool if they played with the idea of the fur, and it's like this one, like make the fur black, or maybe make it white, so to give him that kind of winter camo feel. Not a fan of this one really at all. I was actually kind of disappointed when I unlocked it. I was like, really? This is my reward? The Saving Lives suit, this is the Yuri / Wraith inspired costume. 2 motorcycle jacket for me. Yeah, I don't see a superhero costume in this. I just see like a dude in a motorcycle jacket wearing his motorcycle helmet. Like, it's just, I don't know, like this is like peak like Arrowverse TV show design. Not a fan of this one. The color schemes are just kind of I mean, purple and yellow are a good color scheme. I think those 2 colors contrast really well together. But on Spider-Man, I don't know. This recolor of it is better. Kind of got that like white Ranger thing going on. But I still don't like it that much. The red one, same difference. It's just, I don't know. It's like a 5. Now we've reached the deluxe edition suits. And to start us off, we have the Orantia suit. Not a fan. I think the mask is cool. I think that like area over his mouth looks pretty cool. The eyes are decent, but everything else, there's a lot going on here is the thing. There's a lot going on here. And I think it's just too much. I feel like there's just a ton of stuff happening here for very little rhyme or reason. It just feels like a ton of stuff thrown on here, almost as if it was a challenge to see how much stuff the artist could throw in. And it's a shame because this artist, Raph, I'll have to look up his name later, but I've seen a ton of his stuff. I think I follow him on Instagram actually, and I don't think this is that great. It's a shame because I do really like a lot of his work, but I don't like this one. It's kind of like the hybrid suit. It's very similar to that. And I think this one is slightly better, but it's not that good. I'd give this one like a 6. The apocalyptic suit is, spoilers I guess, but it's the only one of the deluxe edition suits for Peter that I remotely respect. I still don't like this one. I'll give it a 7, but I think this one has a very clear aesthetic goal, and I think it does mostly meet that goal. A really big issue I think the suit has is the eyes. For something that's supposed to be like a punk apocalypse, these are pretty standard, small, kind of friendly Spider-Man eyes. I feel like he should have more exaggerated and ridiculous and very violent, sharp eyes. Something like maybe like what the Scarlet Spider has. Or if you're going for the full apocalypse thing, then maybe he shouldn't even have these traditional Spider-Man eyes. Maybe he should have like goggles or something. So I think these eyes are kind of a miss. I don't really get what the idea here is, especially since they're like glowing. Like the rest of the suit gives the impression that this is a guy living off of whatever he can find, but then he has like glowing eyes. That looks kind of decidedly more advanced than the rest of it, and it looks kind of strange. So this suit, I respect what it's going for. I think it mostly achieves its goal, but I'm not a fan of it. I'll give it like a 7. Nice Amazing Fantasy number 15 reference here. The tactical suit sucks. This is like what if the armored advanced suit was like really ugly? That's pretty much what this costume is. It's mostly white and red, which is a pretty cool color scheme. I mostly like the color scheme here, but then it's also got this like greenish gray on it as well, on like the hands and the feet, and it's just, and then it has this stupid like kind of tactical thing on the head. Like this is supposed to be 2 things. It's supposed to be like the night vision goggles that military and SWAT people use, but also it's supposed to mimic the appearance of a spider, you know, the 8 eyes that spiders have. And it's so dumb because it doesn't really do either of these things. Like, I guess it looks like the spider eyes, but also it's not actual tactical gear. He can't like pull this over his lenses and you know, like see night vision. Like it just looks so dumb. It's so silly, and I can't really take this costume seriously. I'm gonna give this one a 4. The Stone Monkey suit has the same problem I've always had with the 1602 Spider-Man suit, which is that I think it's just too silly of a design, especially this like goofy little collar he's got. I will give this one some praise. It's marginally better than the 1602 suit because it looks kind of fancier, and I think it's got like a kind of a fun design going on, but I still don't like it that much.
I'll give this one a 6 out of 10.
But it is still really goofy, and I would personally never wear this. The 25th Century suit, I had to check because I don't actually know the name of this costume. This suit it's fine. This one is not great. There's just a lot going on, and it's too bulky. I feel like, you know, Spider-Man's supposed to be a really acrobatic, flexible, nimble guy, and this doesn't really give that vibe at all. It's interesting that it's so different from the other Spider-Man suits, but I don't really like it. You want to know a pet peeve of mine when it comes to Spider-Man? artists do this a lot. They'll put the web pattern on a color, let's say red in this case, because that's what it is. And then they'll have another large red section, but they won't put the web pattern on it. That annoys me so much. Anytime I see it, that annoys me. The spider on the front design is awful. Like, you can barely tell that it's a spider, but it's cool that there's like a little canister here with the spider symbol on it. And generally though, this is an aesthetic I don't really like. I think the suit is too bulky. The boots not having the web pattern drives me up the wall, man. Give this one a 4. It kind of sucks.
Now we can get to Peter's 2 new suits that were added in the New Game Plus update. The first is the Fly suit from the Fresh and Fly pack. This costume and Miles' accompanying equivalent are sold together in a pack for $4.99 with all the profit going to charity, and I didn't buy it. Charity's great and all, and I appreciate the people who did buy this to support the charity, but I already spent $80 on this game, and these suits are going to become free at a later date anyway, and I also don't like the suit, so I probably would never use it regardless, so I'd give this thing like a 5. It's definitely creative. The colors are bright and varied. It's not ugly, but it gets close. The other new addition is Peter's Hellfire Gala suit. I'm not an X-Men guy, so from my relative outsider perspective, the Hellfire Gala is a party the X-Men throw that is totally not a self-aggrandizing display of their power that makes them look evil. And so they invite other heroes who show up in appropriate fancy digs for the party. Spider-Man had this suit made for him as a freebie by a mutant named Jumbo Carnation? Sure, why not? This suit didn't appear much in the books, but it did have a very striking design, even if the color scheme made everyone initially assume it was a suit for Miles. Insomniac's rendition is a flub. What made this suit's design so striking was that it was a relatively simple, dark bodysuit with a large, bright spider symbol that stretched across the black void of his body with sharp contrast. It's essentially the same appeal that the classic black suit had, so why did they model the suit like this? This version of the bodysuit is made up of 2 different materials, a black segmented pseudo-armor material with a glossy web pattern, and a seemingly more flexible, ridged dark purple material. But why? And I have to clarify, this is not a case of different equals bad. The issue is that the simple design of the books worked, but this version adds different sections with different materials that not only add nothing to the design, but actively harm it as it distracts from the contrast between the simple bodysuit and the cool symbol that now awkwardly crosses over different sections of both materials without lining up with them, which really peeves me. But that's not all. The red parts are supposed to glow. The eyes, hands, and feet sort of do, but the symbol definitely doesn't. You can tell because it doesn't have that radiance around it like the suits that actually light up. It's not a huge deal because the red parts still show up nicely, even in total darkness, but I would prefer if it did glow. The suit clearly glows in the comics, and the suit's design sheet, which is probably the best reference for the costume, that I can practically guarantee you the developers saw when they were making it, explicitly says the red parts are supposed to glow. And the last thing I'll mention is that the eyes seem to have some kind of graphical issue because there will be this odd outline around them sometimes. Overall, the suit looks good when viewed from a distance while squinting, because the main aspects of the suit are correct, but the more subtle details that should pull it together are instead fighting against it and pulling it apart. Maybe this could have been saved by a suit style with a darker and more uniform color scheme on the bodysuit, but this suit doesn't have any suit styles. I'd give it a 6. And that's all of Peter's suits. For now, because they could always add more. Generally, I think Peter's selection of suits is underwhelming in this game. I've narrowed it down to 5 key reasons as to why that is. Number 1, the sheer amount of movie suits, many of which really should not have returned for this game. Number 2, most of Peter's suits do not complement the ability system, as many will look strange with the mechanical spider arms or both of the symbiote tendril colors, which is compounded by how you will always have the tendrils in your parry on New Game Plus, condemning the few suits that actually do look good with the mechanical arms. 3, how many original designs there are, with both the deluxe edition suits and some other odd inclusions. Original designs don't have prior media for a person to form a pre-existing interest in them, so they need to have a really strong design to hook people onto them, and many of the original designs here simply do not do that. Number 4, the returning suits. Some of the suits that return here look worse, or at the very least were not improved for this one. Lastly, number 5, A lot of really cool designs from the first game did not make the jump into this one. Of my top 5 favorite suits in 2018, only one of them made it into the sequel. This isn't to say that all of Peter's suits in this game are bad. There are some highlights here, but even some of the suits I really like are held back by something. Here's my tier list of these suits. There's a link in the description for you to make your own. And that's all for this one. When I do Miles' costume, that video will be scripted, so it'll be more focused and hopefully shorter. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, tell your mother, and I will see you next time.